a reality. The results tree can be very grossly represented as a pyramid. In the pinnacle are the objectives that we need to comply with, and at its base are the activities. Okay, usually what happens is that they say, okay, a 30% budget cut needs to be implemented. And they ask always, let's be very fair, everybody will receive the same cut. We will be cutting 30% across the board. No. The answer is no. Why? If you were paying attention to the results tree, you know that actually you cannot cut all these activities and expect to achieve the same results. That's impossible. We will not be able to comply with those objectives. Why? Because we haven't done all this chunk. So, what do we do when we're faced with a 30% budget cut? We cut a complete branch, we lower our objectives, and yes, that is something that we can do. So, let's repeat. Why planning? Because we have to know where we are, we have to have a common thread. Now, when we're working with Microsoft Project, the first manner of creating a project is 5 simple steps. The simple form is define the project, create the plan, set the project start or end date, depending if you're programming forward-looking or backwards-looking. Specify the tasks that you will be doing, define the dependencies, assign the durations, print, and then calibrate. Finally, always, save the file. That's the short form, the simple form. If you want to do it in the complete form, you start with steps 1 through 5 of the simple form, and then you create resources, assign fixed costs, allocate those resources, assign the durations, you do the resource balancing, then you print, then you save with a baseline, and then we can start to work. Remember always that in project management, resource balancing is an art. And it's always a question of respecting the constraints imposed by resources, which by definition are always scarce. In the case of Microsoft Project, we have a very useful tool, which is the view more views resource usage. And then we can identify which resources are over allocated, so we can take the proper measures. Now, regarding project monitoring, always remember you need to change the view to tracking Gantt. There you will enter the actual data using the task information options, and then you can print the reports. Remember that the tasks are of 3 kinds in Microsoft Project. The normal, each task is unique, let's say with a duration greater than 0, of course. The recurring or repetitive, let's say meetings, all that kinds of stuff, again duration greater than 0. And the milestones, where the duration is equal to 0. Now, let's start with the dependency relations. The first one is finish to start. That is, the start of the next task is dependent on the first task being finished. And the difference of time between the finish and the start is what we call the time constant, which can be positive or negative. The second one is the finish to finish dependency, where the finishing of the second task is determined by the finishing of the first task plus or minus the time constant. Start to start, again, the second or dependent task starts plus or minus the time constant applied to the first task's start. The most common one here is finish to start. That's the default in the machine, but you need to know the others. And it's very hard that you will find start to finish, but it can be. Our lesson will continue in the next video.